Reddit karma obviously isn't worth anything real, but it sure does make me feel better. I play a lot of video games and I'm almost always drawn to playing the female characters. I even design my characters as women in games where you can choose their gender, and I've done so probably since I was 19, 20 years old. The typical stereotype of men who play female characters, specifically in games where you can choose gender, is that they're nerdy guys who can't get laid, and or just want something nice to look at. That's the joke, right? If I'm going to stare at a character all day, it should at least look pretty? But that's not why I do it. I do it because it's the only way I can express in how I really feel on the inside, because I absolutely cannot nor do I feel comfortable enough to do that in real life. In game, if people don't know better then they'll refer to me as she, and that makes me happy. And that's the most I love or feel comfortable doing. I effing love pumpkin spice. Pumpkin spice anything, and we're heading into my favorite time of year. I get so much grief ordering college girl lattes, even from my wife, but I don't care. You do you, fellow Redditors, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I got your back. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a pumpkin spice coffee and a couple pumpkin donuts waiting for me. I 17F have never dated anyone but really look forward to get into a relationship. Whenever any guy, girl approaches me and talks to me, I instantly just develop a crush on them and think about them for months. I've made this online guy friend for whom I fell head over heels just because they talked to me for a few days. How can I stop being this desperate and needy and focus more upon myself? I'm an almost 30-year-old single mom of an almost 4-year-old little girl. I started taking classes at my local community college in fall of 2020. As of today, I have finished all of my prerequisites and pre-admission exam. I can officially apply to the nursing program. In all my life, this is not where I ever expected to find myself. Especially after having a child. I just knew that factory work was the extent of my future. I changed that. Whether I get accepted or not, I can be so proud of myself for coming as far as I have. I haven't shared any of this journey on Facebook and only a small group of my family and friends know what I'm doing, but I just had to take a moment to put it out in the universe. I'm doing the damn thing and I'm so fucking proud of myself. EDA, thank you so much for all the support, well-wishing, and kind words. You'll never know how much it all means to me. I understand a number of you don't feel this is a confession and it's just me bragging. But to me, it feels like a confession because it's something that I have been keeping close to the chest. It's something that I felt like I don't have the appropriate support system to talk to anyone about in my real life. I realized that maybe our humble brag and or our off-makers may have been better options. However, this was the first place my brain told me to go to post this, so here we are. Other minorities. And saying that gets you a hard side eye. But I'm sorry, it's the truth. You tell someone about your indigenous heritage when they ask and they recoil, or even worse, try to tell you, you aren't native enough. And it's always other minorities. Whites straight up won't ask unless it's part of the conversation now, and frankly I prefer that because why the hell else do you need to determine if I'm indigenous or Hispanic? It has nothing to do with you. And moreover, the amount of disgusting fucking comments I've had thrown at me in Atlanta and Fort Worth by very specific groups of people is hilarious because, wow, it's not racism guys, it's prejudice. Prejudice. You wanna complain about a funny go fuck yourself Sakaga joke at work? HR doesn't give a rat's ass because the prick who said it ain't white or Asian. Fuck you, too, HR. Oh, and while we're at it, Ed and Eddie in maintenance? Yeah, fuck you, too, y'all some tan-ass white people, Blackfoot were black. I'm not even vaguely related to the Blackfoot, you cunt. Eat my ass. So yeah. Minorities are as racist, erasing, revisionist and destructive as everyone else, and saying that means you're a fake. I'm done. Edit. This is a reply I left to someone but elaborates a little more beyond the whole eat my ass aspect of this postal mail. I specifically referenced name-calling as that incident pisses me off and keeps reoccurring, however I also mentioned being informed I am not indigenous. or specifically that I am not indigenous because the actual First Nations group of people my specific, though incorrectly named by the person, tribe is descended from are in fact not at all the people we believe them to be. Given this is a rant post, I didn't go hugely into depth over the person's comments, also because I figured who's gonna care? The gist behind it, and also things I've seen often repeated in media, church groups, and now increasingly at college campuses and political organizations, is that current indigenous peoples are fake. We are imposters, or placeholders, or whatever you wish to name us. That we are taking up space better deserved to the true natives, which is almost always followers of a specific politico-religious group, and thusly are white plants. As input there to further push down these people. And there's a lot to unpack there that I get the feeling neither you or I really need to debate because it's obvious why that's a shit fucking thing to say, but it transcends a few loony people. It's fucking everywhere. You leave the res? People comment. People stare. Sometimes they clutch their bags. Whatever lady, my bag is nicer anyway. But then someone asks you, what are you? And maybe you know them. Or you have some sort of connection, work, family, church. You can't just cut it short, otherwise it's everyone's business, and yeah, you could, but then you have more shit to deal with. So you answer, and you might be a member of a tribe or band in the US, Canadian First Nations, Australian Aborigine, Maori, Polynesian, Melanesian, whatever. But instead of a "oh cool," like probably a normal person would answer once their curiosity is satisfied, you're politely informed that sadly, no, you are mistaken. You are a European export. Your entire culture, oral history, generational struggles unique to your tribe, band, etc. are fake. Because the real natives are a made-up group of dickbags who are now lobbying the federal government for recognition, petitioning allocated funding for troubled res kids, in certain states able to apply for specific financial assistance set forth for descendants of their respective bands because it's too racist to have a minimum quantifier, and all the while you're reminded how bad everyone else has it. There is no media representation or coverage of the horrors that occur on the reservations, the struggles. Only now are people beginning to question the Highway of Tears or Canadian residential schools. And while I believe it is fantastic that today we have great resources and support for various communities, too many people are quite openly willing to criticize quarterly checks and advocate for even less support for these broken communities because we are essentially the embarrassment of all nations. We specifically face violence from many factors of US society. This post is my experience in the United States as opposed to my experiences in Oceania, which cannot be conflated, but it's most concerning that we are frequently fetishized, brutalized and then erased by other minority communities that they themselves tout as paradigms of reform for their own minority community. The secondary issue to this is the theory that racism requires power and privilege. This is a uniquely American idea and relatively recently that it's truly taken hold. There is something horridly, putridly poetic in being informed that racial violence, affirmative action, and replacement is less detrimental towards us because the people doing so are not white. It is so bizarrely privileged in and of itself that it could only have, and surely did, been born of someone incapable of distinguishing the merit, melanin and motives of the individual and instead desired to further crack the tenuous bonds between us all. I don't give a fuck about someone's race. What I do care about is how deeply hypocritical people can be about how guilty or how bad a single deed truly is, especially when the deed is measured not by its impact but its perpetrator. Anyway, this is a general response, not a pointed or personal response, because I don't know you, so I can't accuse you of anything. I hope it doesn't come across that way.